Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's tech expert, but first, we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, and We Coach. You've heard me say many times before, these are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. And now don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes. We're going to give our sponsors a shout out. These are all great companies that I used as an athletic director or as a coach. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support of the podcast. Gipper's the official social media graphic solution for us. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to show you how to create world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. It's so easy, even I can do it. Your kids are on social media, and if you're not celebrating your athletes, promoting your teams, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is the exclusive state association and high school management platform, and it's your one-stop platform for things like scheduling, student-athlete eligibility and clearance, state association connections, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just great, and you'll like it too. For more information on how you can get started with Home Campus, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to tell your school's unique story, celebrate your history, and display your proudest moments. You'll find more information at vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that allowed them to coach our kids at the highest level. Go to huddle.com, see why we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. If you're looking for a fundraiser, stop right there. Snap Raise is hands down the best fundraiser. But you have so much more. Snap Store, Snap Manage, Snap Connect. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Hometown is digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, more customization. Go to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. We want to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Their products are just outstanding and their customer service cannot be beat. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sidelineinteractive.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and an affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to improve your entire program. Athletic surveys will create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic surveys connect you with the 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that support your program, and that's a tremendously valuable tool to have. Go to athleticsurveys.com for more information. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We've got a brand new guest this week, Dr. Monica Burns. If you're not familiar, she's very active on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. She is an author, a blogger. She's a podcast host herself. And her Twitter handle, we'll go with that. I think her website too is called ClassTechTips. So she is certainly a tech expert, and we're very fortunate to have her with us. It's back to school time, as you all know. Dr. Monica Burns, welcome to Tech Tuesday.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, as we mentioned, it's a busy time for teachers and coaches. Before we dive into the segment, tell our listeners just a little bit about you. Do a better job than I did of introducing why you are a tech guru.
You bet. Well, I am a former New York City public school teacher. I'm still here on the East Coast, but I've been out of the classroom for several years, writing and sharing all about ed tech or education technology. So, ways to make ed tech easier for educators in a variety of roles through my podcast, the Easy Ed Tech podcast, as well as in person and virtual events where I get to connect with teachers in different parts of the country.
Okay. Well, again, I came across your profile and I thought you'd be a great fit. So I'm going to turn you loose. What do you have for our listeners today on Tech Tuesday?
You bet. Well, I am just very excited about a space that's getting a lot of buzz that I think is worthy of educators in all roles in their consideration, which is generative AI or artificial intelligence. And so for this Tip Tuesday, I thought it would be fun to share some ways that you could use generative AI to save time and generate ideas throughout the school year. So when I use the term generative AI, I'm talking about the artificial intelligence that's creating content that didn't quite exist before. Now, I could use air quotes there, perhaps, or an asterisk next to it, because it's essentially pulling from a variety of sources and it's using information that's out in the world to create something new based on a prompt that someone gives. So we're super used to asking Google, write a keyword or just writing in a few things. Like we've been taught to not use sentences in Google, even though sometimes it's tempting to do it. But generative AI essentially is us asking a chatbot to perform a task. Maybe it's make a list or write an email or give me ideas for, or how do I tackle this situation? So, with our roles in mind and the roles of your listeners in mind, a few things you might do with generative AI could include make me a template for a field trip we have coming up. And then it gives you a template and you put in all the specific information before sharing it with families. Or make a real world connection between this activity that I'm doing and what my students are interested in. So if you are in a space where you are teaching the rules of a game or you're unpacking a move in a basketball setup with a group and there's certain kids who maybe are not bought in, right? And you want to make a connection to another thing that they love, something else that they're excited about, right? You can say, connect the rules of a basketball game to this interest. My kids are super excited. These second graders just can't stop talking about oceans because they're learning about it in science classroom. And that's going to give you some metaphors or ways to make a connection to ocean animals and when you're teaching the rules of a basketball game. Or you might say, I want to introduce this new concept to students. I want to make it fun and lighthearted. Write a song to the tune of, and it could be any song that you love, right? It's got to be maybe a year or two delay when you use the chatbot. So it could be something like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or it could be Jolene by Dolly Parton, right? And you can say, write a song to the tune of that explains the core vocabulary around whatever topic that you're teaching. Doesn't mean you have to get up in front of a group of kids and sing that song, but you might put it up on an interactive board as a way to introduce vocabulary. So generative AI could use a tool like ChatGPT. That's the one that's gotten the most steam over the past year or so, since November, coming out on the scene in a wide way for really anyone to use ChatGPT. It could include a tool like Google's Bard. If you're in a school and you have a Google account, Bard might already have been enabled by your system's administrator, or you could use a personal Gmail account to access it. Another great one is Claude, like Claude Monet, and Claude will allow you to put in some of the same prompts, just like I mentioned. So this is a tool that you could use. This generative AI is the big kind of overarching umbrella. The other tools like ChatGPT, Claude, or Bard would be examples of putting it into action. So this is a tool you could use to generate ideas, make connections, or save you time, like writing a letter, make me a list, give me the vocabulary words for, make a cross-curricular connection, you name it. It's not perfect, but it'll give you a starting point from a blank canvas to get some new ideas.
I was going to ask you, I had heard of, and I think I actually played with Bard a month or so ago. And some of the applications that you mentioned, say for an athletic director or a coach, they're always making, maybe not for a field trip, but they're making a
Mhm.
roster
You
for
bet.
a road game. They're sending out emails or messages to parents or boosters,
Mhm.
et cetera. And so using one of these, and I want to make sure I'm saying it right, generative AI.
Generative, like
Okay,
it's generating something
right.
new.
They could utilize this to, if they don't consider themselves a wordsmith,
Mhm.
they could craft, or the AI could craft them these types of letters. Is that a good explanation?
That's perfect. And it could be that you're looking at that blank canvas, right? Or that empty inbox, or right, you're in your inbox, you got that empty email to send. So you could use it to start from scratch and then make it your own. Or you could take something that you've written that's just not right. Take out the personal information. But if you've got an email structure and you're like, I don't know that this really gets to the point, I want this booster to really be convinced to attend this special event that we're having, right? You could pop that into ChatGPT and say, make this more formal, make this more informal, make this more concise, right? Whatever your adjective is, right? And then you could place that alongside the text that you wrote, and it could just take another spin, right? It's like having an editor or assistant right next to you that can really help refine your writing as well.
Okay. Wow. I mean, great stuff. I saw uh, the on a 60-minute segment a while back.
Mhm.
I was that Bard that they were talking about.
So I think for that one, it was ChatGPT was more of the focus. I
Okay.
know that a lot Microsoft Bing's coverage has been pretty good too. So there's a lot of good examples of tools that you can use. And for most of them, it's an overarching set of skills or strategies that you would use to really get information from that space.
All right. Well, again, just I think the possibilities are endless, and you certainly gave some. We just kind of scratched the surface.
Mhm.
Um, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, find out more about what you offer, your website, your books,
Mhm.
et cetera, and listeners, you got a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that they can get a hold of Monica Burns?
Yeah, so my website is classtechtips.com. That's also my handle on Instagram and the other spaces. And on classtechtips.com, there's a new artificial intelligence button. It just went live this month, and it'll take you out to resources like what we're talking about today, in addition to all the other fun stuff I love to do, like creativity in the classroom and things that don't quite have to do with robots or AI.
Okay. So again, it's Class Tech Tips, and that's the Twitter handle. That's also the website. And I think you mentioned you're also active on LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
Dr. Monica Burns, thanks so much for spending time with us on Tech Tuesday, and all the best with your very busy schedule, coming up.
Thank you so much for having me.
For our listeners, we do this every single week, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Come back next Tuesday for another great tech tip, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Boy, artificial intelligence. Make sure you check out Dr. Monica Burns. That's Class Tech Tips, Class Tech Tips on Twitter and on the internet. Before we go, we want to acknowledge our sponsors one more time. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Start taking the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. Huddle. Find out how to turn your school into a huddle school. Your coaches, your athletes, your parents will really appreciate it. Home Campus is a tremendous platform for scheduling, for student athlete clearance and eligibility, for coach management. Go to homecampus.com and check them out. Vital Signs Wall of Fame for record boards, for halls of fame, or to just tell your school story. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Snap Mobile is the home for Snap Raise, for Snap Connect, Snap Store, and a ton of other great platforms. Go to snapraise.com to get started. Gipper is the official social media graphics solution for us. If you're not using Gipper, you're really missing out. Go to gipper.com. Same thing with digital ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. And Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo. See their tables and their scoreboards in action. Thanks again for listening to this week's Tech Tip on Tech Tuesday. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.